Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the paper clay and building this thing out. As expected, after this initial clay had a chance to set here and absorb the moisture that we had added to it with the glue and the drywall compound, it became very dry, and as you tried to ball it up, it just flaked apart. So just added some additional drywall compound and glue, mixed it in to get it to a consistency that can be worked with. Might have a little bit too much glue in here versus drywall compound because it's not really, it's a little bit more difficult to smooth out, but that's okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and work with it. If I notice I need to make any adjustments, I can just do that while in process. I use this just to bring more life to this guy, and to build him out and just make him look as nasty as I can. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's just whatever you're feeling and whatever direction it takes you. But you just start by applying it to whatever area that you'd like to see built up. I'm going to build the base of this stem out just to make it more defined and create heavy ridges, bumps, veining, however you want to call it, and just really pronounce these areas. You can see you just shove it in there and you can smooth it out as much as you'd like. I know I mentioned earlier that this may be the last step before painting, but I kind of lied. There is one very important step after we have everything done as far as our clay goes that kind of skins this and gives it a more uniform look and allows you to create a lot of depth and creases and whatnot that help out when you go to painting. So I'm just going to continue this, building this out, and creating some high spots. I will probably build out these eyes as well, just to make them look a little bit nastier. Create this ridge. And I have left all the stuffing in, and I like to do that as long as I can. I will take it out before I go to skin it, though. But the main reason for that is we're adding a lot of weight as well as moisture back into this. And what's going to happen is this thing sets and dries. If we didn't have this stuffing left in, he's just going to start to crush down and collapse. I've got one pumpkin that happened to, and he turned out pretty damn cool. So it just depends on what look you're going after. It's not a bad thing. It's going to close this mouth up and bow it out, but it turned out really, really cool. So, but on this particular one, I'm going to try to keep him as close to our original form as possible. And this paper clay, it's made up of the same stuff as we've already made the body out of. So once this dries, it's going to bond to it, and it's just going to take on the same consistency as the body and just become all one piece. Just make sure you smooth those out, kind of feather those edges in. Make sure you've got a good bond between your clay and the body. I don't typically put noses either in my pumpkins. However, a lot of the times I end up kind of creating a ridge anyway, coming down the middle like I'll do here. I'll bring that off the stem and on down. Kind of simulates a nose, but I typically don't cut one into it. It seems to take away from the eeriness of the face. And because you're doing this, as I say, you don't need to be too particularly worried about what all's going on with the face and the shape and everything else during all the initial steps, because you can drastically change the way this pumpkin looks with this paper clay. Just add a little bit more to that eye. Bringing that ridge out. It's kind of sinking the eye down in the pumpkin as well. A little bit more of an evil look. Now, if you've checked out Stalloween's site and some of his stuff, and that's something you can add to this and do as well. He likes to build out a lot of this depth and a lot of these things with additional paper and tape and kind of bonding it all together and building out and really making things have a lot of depth. You can do that. You can add to this. You can do whatever you want. I tend to just use the clay unless you're really wanting something drastic, because building this up too thick can always add some issues and problems of its own. And it'll take quite a long time to dry if you build it out too thick. Kind of see some of that I've done with that eye. I'm going to go ahead and do this with the other eye while I'm working in that general area. Just build it out. You probably can't see shit with the heat anyway, but you get the general idea. Actually, I like the way this is going. It kind of popped up on that top part, so I think I'm going to continue that ridge on up from that eye and connect it with that one I had already started off of the stem. You know, all this is doing is just adding depth, adding some life to the character so he's not so flat. Definitely makes it a lot more organic. Doesn't seem to be so purposeful to the look. Purposeful, if that's a word. Hopefully that's looking cool from that side. You can't quite see it, but Well, I think that about does it for the paper clay. You can go on and on and on with this. But I think I'm pretty happy with it. It looks pretty gnarly. Got a lot of different things going on. As you can see, I'm not that concerned about how smooth my paper clay is with this particular application. Really is the more jacked up it looks, the better for me. Once we skin this, it's going to make a uniform appearance all the way over it. It's going to kind of blend all of this and bring it all together, as well as we'll start to generate a lot more finer creases, which are going to come out when we start to dry brush it. So I'm going to let this dry overnight, and tomorrow I'll go ahead and skin it, and we're down to the final stretch here. So I think it's looking pretty good.